Can I rent out my house if I used a VA loan to purchase it? Well, the answer may surprise you because you're going to get a lot of different answers if you ask around. Most of what you're going to hear is, no, you can't do that. You're going to need your VA loan again, so you need to either refinance it, turn it into a conventional loan, or you got to sell it to free up that entitlement. Well, that couldn't be further from the truth. In today's video, I'm going to go ahead and debunk a lot of the myths that you're hearing, and then how you can rent out your house and just some of the nuances there as well. If you want to build a real estate portfolio without selling your current home, and if you've used your VA loan and you might be wondering, can I turn this into a rental? Well, this is the video for you. So first and foremost, can you rent out a home that you have your VA loan on? Of course you can. You can rent out a property you purchased with a VA loan, but the big requirement is you can't purchase the property as anything other than a primary residence. But once that's satisfied, life happens. You get PCS, job transfer, or you just want to move up. Things change. The VA is not going to force you to sell. The VA is not going to force you to free up that benefit or that entitlement that has been charged to purchase another home using your VA loan. And this is what a lot of lenders get wrong. They don't understand what really moves the VA loan and how people get VA loan. You see, the VA gives you what's called entitlement. The entitlement that you are given as a borrower is dependent upon where you buy in the country. If you currently have your VA loan in use, they have this formula to calculate what your new maximum loan amount. The good news is that in higher cost areas or in a lot of areas around the country, you can have one loan tied up, or if you have some entitlement tied up, and you can still use your VA loan again with no money down. But basically what the VA does is it takes 25% of the amount of the loan that they give you, and they charge that as entitlement. So charged entitlement. You'll find this on your certificate of eligibility. Very simple to find. I guess where lenders really get it wrong is by advising people that, because they currently have a VA loan, that they can't use it again. That's absolutely not true. It's a very good idea, especially with VA, because when you buy it as a primary residence and then you PCS to another duty station, or you just move out of the area, you keep it as a rental property. Well, now that property is a rental property. In the normal world, if rates drop and you wanted to refinance, you would have to pay a higher rate, but not with the VA. The VA doesn't care. They just have a VA loan. That's it. And you qualify for what's called a VAIRRRL. So I'm getting a little of the weeds again because I just want to set and show the importance of it's okay to keep your VA loan in place. You don't have to refinance it, get rid of it, sell it, leave it there. Even if it's a higher interest rate and you PCS somewhere else, you can still refinance that loan with normal owner-occupied rates when rates drop. That'll help with your rents. That'll help with everything, all your finances. But all in all, the VA gives us huge flexibility with regards to renting out your home. And let's go ahead and go into just some of the other areas of concern. And this brings me into what we call the 75% rule. Let's just say you're using your VA loan again to buy your next house. The lender is going to apply what's called a 75% rule to your future rental income. And a lot of lenders, this is again, it just boggles my mind. Lenders will say, no, what are you talking about? You don't have any history renting out your property, and you don't even have a signed lease. So how in the world am I going to qualify you when you have that mortgage payment? Here's the rule of the VA. The VA will give you 75% of the projected rent as income. Well, technically what they do is they offset the mortgage payment. Other loan programs do it a little differently. But the VA says, all right, 75%. So if you're renting your house out for $1,000, the VA is going to say, all right, well, we're going to count 75% of that towards your mortgage payment. And if your mortgage payment is $750, then basically it just cancels out. Makes sense? What lenders get tripped up on is that because you don't have a 2-year history, let's say this was your first home. You bought a house and you're financing, you got an VA loan, you bought it for like $150, whatever, and you got this small VA loan, and you go to your next duty station. Well, you leave that in place. Well, guess what? A lender is going to probably tell you, because you don't have a history as a landlord, or you don't have, because it's a departing residence, if you don't have a signed lease agreement, And he even is going as far as, we got to see like a signed lease and that you're already receiving rents. I mean, it's a complete botch. The VA requires none of that. All you need is just have a realtor or somebody say, you can just go to Zillow, honestly, and go, here's what the projected rents are, 75%, and the VA will allow the lender, this is the key, right? The VA allows the lender to make that decision as to that not being a long-term debt. It's not going to be. You're going to rent it out, right? And I don't want to even get me started on the whole, I'm going to sell the property, because the VA actually does not require the lender to count that payment against you for qualifying. If you're going to sell it and you're still going to keep it, you want to buy first and then sell it later. Well, the VA is very clear in their guidelines that the lender should not count that against them. But that's a whole nother video. I should actually go into that because that's a fun topic that a lot of lenders get wrong. Moving on. Why should you build your portfolio this way? If you're doing it right, you're essentially building a real estate portfolio without selling your home. We all know that the best time to buy a house was 5 years ago. So let's look 5 years down the road. What's going to be your equity position 5 years down the road of this home that you have that you're thinking about selling, and or if you wanted to keep it as a rental? And you can amass multiple homes with your VA loan. It's not like you just all of a sudden run out of ability to use your VA loan. You have what's called entitlement. Your entitlement number is going to shift every year as they change the conforming loan limit. So think of it this way. Okay, there are not high cost areas and there's high cost areas. So this is called the conforming loan limit, and the high cost areas are 1.5 times that. The guarantee limit of the where you get as an available entitlement is 25% of whatever that county loan limit is. So a lot of times as those values go up, you essentially free up more entitlement. Does that make sense? So it's really hard to run out of entitlement. So when you do it right, you're essentially building your real estate portfolio without selling. As I mentioned earlier, you can always refinance even if it's not your primary residence. You're going to start collecting rental income. You're going to start having tax deductions. You'll have write-offs. You'll be able to borrow against it down the road if you ever want to. Let's just say you get massive equity. You could always pay off this VA loan, and let's just say you get a VA loan at 6.25%, 6.5%. Let's say rates drop to 5.5%, and now you got another $100,000 in equity. Well, you could do a 40-year loan and just conventional loan, cash out up to 80% of the value, pocket it, free up some additional entitlement, and go buy another house. I mean, it's just a beautiful thing. Kind of all over the place, but I just wanted you to know that as long as you have at least $1 of entitlement remaining, you can get another VA loan. Here are some things to watch out for when you get a VA loan. It talks about intent. Now, first thing it says is that you're going to occupy within a reasonable time period. Typically, they want you to occupy within 60 days, but the VA really doesn't even have that rule. So if somebody says, oh, you got to occupy within 60 days, it's scary, you got to do it. Actually, you don't, because the VA says they understand people, PCS, people get deployed, military life happens. So they caveat that with a reasonable time. A reasonable time could be up to a year. So check with your lender and just make sure that your intent is truly to be there a year. Because if you kind of know going in that I'm going to buy it and I'm going to move out in 3 months, that's not cool. Okay, so you could get in trouble for that. We talked about reviewing your entitlement. Make sure when you go through this process that if you do plan to go somewhere else in, let's say, PCS, or maybe you're getting out and you're going to your retirement home in another 3 years or so, just make sure that you're not hosing yourself with entitlement. There's just some planning that needs to happen. As I mentioned before, the entitlement allowed will grow every year as they increase the conforming loan limits. So there's not too much trouble or things you have to worry about. Just make sure you're doing some planning and that your lender is asking the appropriate questions, like, how long are you here for? Based on your MLS, or if you're retired, what's your plans? Are you going to be here 2 years, 3 years, forever years? Just keep an open mind on that. Just make sure you're communicating that with your lender. The other thing is, it's not a bad idea to consider property management. The property managers typically charge a 10% fee per payment. So if you're rent is, you're charging rent of $2,000. Your fee that you're going to pay the management company is $200 a month. So really you're making $1,800. Now you do get to write that off. And trust me, if you're a long way away or you can't be with your rental property, it is a dream to have a management company handle everything for you. So consider a management company. Last thing is to understand your tax implications. Now, I am not an accountant, so you want to check with your accountant, but there are differences when you have long-term rental properties, especially if you hadn't lived in it for 2 of the last 5 years. I know that's still a thing right now in 2025, but those things may change. So income earned, realized, capital gains, all that gets a little bit different when you're talking about rental properties. Using your VA loan as a rental property is totally fine. In fact, it's not only possible, it is encouraged. Building wealth with real estate using your VA benefits, putting no money down. I mean, your rate of return is ridiculous. Think about it. You put nothing in and you're building equity. So if you forget everything I said in this video and you're still with me, just remember, you go in with zero money down and your home appreciates 50 grand. That's like infinite rate of return. You put no money in. I mean, it's just an absolute no-brainer. However, if you want to see what the numbers look like for rental properties, purchasing a house with no money down, I've got a really cool spreadsheet. The best thing to do is just to email me. You can email me at questions@loanwithrick.com. Happy to jump on a call with you. If you found this video helpful, please do pop me a like, share it, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that. I'm really trying to grow the channel, and that would be super helpful to me. This is Rick, and I'll see you on the next video.